Carrington, MacDuffie. This is Star Seeds of Freedom. And I'm really looking forward to the discussion I have lined up for today with a really cool guy who's made some very bold choices in his life for the sake of his family. He has a podcast called Once Bitten. It's a Bitcoin podcast, but it involves really in-depth discussions with really interesting people. So I want to direct you to that. But because of the choices he and his wife made for homeschooling in a very particular way, today we're going to talk about education and the state. Let's see what he has to say. Well, what an awesome day, because I have with me today a guy that I've long wanted to speak with one-on-one, although I've known him for quite a while. His name is Daniel Prince, and he is husband, father, world schooler, Bitcoiner, podcaster, and author, not necessarily in that order. But I'm really happy to have him with us today on Star Seeds of Freedom. Welcome, Dan, to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me on, Carrie. And thanks for doing the podcast. Thanks for, lending your voice and your expertise and your unique skill set to this area, because we need as many voices as we possibly can fighting this battle. And we need more podcasts, not less, and more books, not less, more articles, not less. And this is the only way that we get everybody, woken up and looking above, like just this days of this mist, this red mist that's descended across everybody, especially since 2020. But yeah, I appreciate your work.
Yes, and I appreciate yours. And the mist was always there. We just didn't see it. And what's happening, which is so awesome now, and it's insane, but it's awesome too, is that it's starting to show itself. Like it can't hold back anymore. And now's our chance, and we're not going to get another one. So it's great that people can see, those of us who can see the mist can talk about it and show it, because MK Ultra and all that jazz have really, it's amazing to look around and see how people are perceiving the world and how radically divided our perceptions are. There's those who are believing what they've been programmed to believe, and those of us are going, excuse me, wait a minute. And how does that come about? That's the manipulation of perception is the manipulation of behavior, right? And so it's so important for the powers that be to manipulate perception. And how do they do that?
Their biggest weapon in their arsenal is the state education system. That's how they do it. That's where they grab the minds, hearts, and souls of our kids. And we gladly march them to that front door and let go of their hands at the age of 3, 4, or 5 and say, it'll be okay, little Jimmy. It's good for you. It's good for them. They've got to find their friends. They've got to find their feet in the world. They've got to understand a little bit of, that life isn't all roses and stuff. This is how we have mentally managed to, like, our internal dialogue to get over the fact that we abandon our children at such a young age. Yeah. And it's been set up that way. It's been a slow, gradual creep. But that's their biggest weapon. Their second biggest weapon is complete and utter total control of the financial monetary system, of which we are all enslaved to, and yes, which you and I know a lot about. Yeah. But you've got to, you can only push that on people if they're, in air quotes, dumb enough to believe it. And the reason they're dumb enough to believe it is because of the 15 to 20 years we go through indoctrination camps, gulags, otherwise known as state school education, under the psyop of free education is a human right. That's where they get us. And I can't remember who I'm quoting here, or even if I'm just paraphrasing, but give me a boy until the age of 7 and I'll show you the man.
Yeah. That goes back.
That's the axiom.
That goes back to the Jesuits, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's the axiom on which they base everything. And the other one being, money is power. And they have it both. They've got it all wrapped up.
And I think part of connected to the education is also the media in general. But I think it's the education that makes people so receptive to the media. That's part of what makes them so receptive. Here in the US, we have Hollywood, which is so we're really doubly cursed compared to the rest of the world because that's such a incredibly powerful tool. And it's been blended with the education system.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it was Ed Bernays. He was hired way back in the day at the turn of the 1900s when they set up the General Education Board. 1902, they had the first meeting, secret meeting. You know who hosted that? John D. Rockefeller and friends
Yes.
had a secret meeting in 1902 to set up the General Education Board and how to shape education for the betterment of society. And that was put into place in 1903, and that they hired a guy called Frederick Gates, if I remember correctly, to run that operation. And I think they then hired Ed Bernays to be their propagandist. How do we get everybody on board with the idea of state education? And again, like free education is a human right. And how do we make sure everybody gets forced into compulsory schooling? Because once we have that, then we can. They're the ones that were making the curriculums. Curriculum is a funny word. It's a nice fluffy word for agenda. So this is what they did. Now Ed Bernays, it's his nephew, I think, at the moment, is CEO of Netflix. Right? This stuff all stays very close to the original people, and for very good reason. And a really random fact I learned recently was Edgar Selwyn was one of the survivors of the Titanic, one of the lucky 11 or lucky 12, whatever. Didn't get on the Titanic because of whatever reason, a random reason. And he went on to go and find MGM Studios. And of course, JP Morgan, as we know, who owned the ship through his umbrella company, also didn't get on the Titanic. Okay, why?
Yeah, I can't imagine why.
You just start scratching all of these little like conspiracy theories and whatever else, and it all leads back to the same people, the same group, the same names, and the education system. Yeah, I mean it's all there. It's just even on Wikipedia. Go check it out. General Education Board. See how it was formed and see who was part of it, and then see who funded. So, like through the General Education Board and the other monopolists and industrialists of that time that were drawn to it to fund it, they funded the rollout of the state education program to the tune of like goodness knows how many more millions than the government could have ever dreamed of funding it, ever. And this is public information, and if people are, wondering, what the hell is he talking about? No, of course, education. We need education for our children. Just go dig into it. Go read John Taylor Gatto's books. And he was a state school teacher for 30 years until he realized, I can't do this to kids anymore. Like this is like dark. And he blew it all open with his books and his writing.
Well, it certainly needed to, and needs to be blown open. And as you say, it's a really small group that can maintain control. I mean, how does a tiny group of people maintain control over billions of people? It's all through perception. So they have to have control of the education, and then they can keep their cabal really, really small. And of course, we know Rockefeller's at the base of this, and it's got to be John Dee's quote about how we want a nation of workers, not a nation of thinkers, and that's what's behind all of that schooling. And I think people don't even really question it. As a child, I didn't question it, and my parents held education as an extremely high value. And I respect that. I know what they were after, but it's such a tricky area because they were very old school, right? They were very,
Mhm.
if I'd been in England, I would have been in a public school, what here we call a private school. So I was schooled according to these kind of old world values, that behind which is this really hideous, dark agenda that, I had no idea. I just knew that I didn't really fit in very well, and that I had to use what I was learning to my own devices rather than be shaped by it. So it would be my tool rather than me being its tool. And I don't think I really knew that consciously, but eventually I became aware of it consciously. And it's really, they have easy control of teenagers, especially. I mean, you want to get the child, like you were saying, that Jesuit quote, and I can't remember who it was, about show me a child, up to the age of 7, I'll show you the man. And then also, though, you have teenagers, and we see so much of this now, who are so easily manipulated because at that point our hormones are going crazy and really insecure, and we really want to go with the crowd, and so they're being manipulated through the school system insanely, with the woke agenda and the whole thing of
Mhm.
like closets that they're doing.
Closets. Oh,
Do you
what's
know anything
this?
about that? Do you have that going
No.
on? Are you in the UK now? Are you in France? Where are you now, by the
We
way?
we are based in France, and the three of our kids. Well, one is 18 and she's on a gap year. She's traveling around Thailand, Indonesia, and Cambodia right now, and
Hmm.
the other three are all at home, homeschooling, self-directed education online, and clubs or social activities such as horse riding or football that we do here, or the whatever else. There's always some kind of madness going on. So yeah, I am not tuned into like this what closets. It already sounds pretty bad.
Oh,
Like,
it's
so what
bad.
is
I
that?
mean, I'll go there briefly, and then I want to ask you about your homeschooling methods and
Mhm.
some the history of that for you. But they're doing in the schools, some of the public schools here, or maybe the private schools, but I think you're in more danger in a public school, as you say, state schools, where they're telling children that they're not the gender that they think they are, and that they can come into school and be the opposite gender and hide it from their parents. So they have closets with clothes in them that so a little boy can come in and dress as a girl while he's at school using the closet, the wardrobe that's provided at school, and then change back into his clothes and go home, and his parents don't know anything about it.
Oh my God.
I know, it's just like I can't.
Well, and
I,
there you go. Like that's the agenda that's being pushed by these dark forces that still own the education system
mhm,
and are using it for social engineering.
absolutely.
That's exactly
And
what's happening.
yeah, and one thing a lot of people here in the US don't know, I'm a constitutionalist. We've had like 3 constitutions. That's a way other subject, but there is no provision in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights about the government being providing education. That's not the right of the government. That's nowhere, anywhere in the Constitution. I mean, there's like 2 or 3 jobs the government's supposed to have. Defend our
Mhm.
borders. Don't get me started, and defend the country, not education. So,
Huh. Interesting, but there you have it. But there it is, and people think it is a public right. I tell you where you do find it. It's the 10th point of the Communist Manifesto.
okay, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. I'm going to put that in the show notes. There'll be a lot of stuff in the show notes, but
We could go through the whole 10 points, and
yeah, let's hear it. Let's do that.
all right, okay, let's pull
Yeah,
it up
if you have
because I'd
time,
love
let's
to
do
know
it. Yeah.
what's the meme. Corporate wants you to find a difference in the picture, right? Uh, 10 points, 10 planks. Actually, I think it's actually called.
So evil.
Yeah,
And it's
where is this?
painted as so virtuous, and it's always the opposite, like, as we were saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. like clown world, like we said, everything's
Yeah.
inverted, right?
Yes, exactly.
So number one, well, tell me if you know this sounds like the country in which you live at the moment, whether you're listening to this or watching it. Number one is abolition of private property. So you're in the US. How's that looking?
I'm not going to comment. Like it's just too disturbing. Yeah, I think a lot of
Well,
people. Yeah, go ahead.
number two is a heavy progressive or graduated income tax. How's that looking?
And the income tax is actually illegal, but people don't know that.
Exactly.
Mhm.
It is, right? It's unconstitutional.
Yep.
It should not be happening, but it is happening,
Mhm.
and gradually, every year, progressively. Number three, abolish the right of inheritance.
Right.
Is it getting harder and harder to get the inheritance from your parents? I mean, there's death taxes now, right? I'm not sure what it's like
Oh
in the
yeah, there's
US, but
death taxes, and
right.
there's I was talking to a guy from Serbia the other day who was trying to figure out how the inheritance system here works because in Serbia it's really, really simple. Apparently, the state does it. Now I'm not arguing for this, but the state does it, and because there's different ways of controlling the line of inheritance, right? And I think the way it works there is your property's divided in half. Half goes to your spouse, half goes to your children, period. End of story. And so he was trying to figure out, which I'm like not a fan of, but he's trying to figure out how our system works with probate. And there's just 1,000 ways you can put stuff in trusts, which you have to do if you want your savings to survive the state. The system's really complicated and the courts are clogged and they're more and more clogged. So there's part of an answer to that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
there's I mean, it's pretty disgusting to think that you work your whole life and you don't have the ability just to pass down whatever you've earned, whether that's property, whether that's anything, gold, stocks, bonds, just pure old cash, just your bank account. That's now my daughter's bank account. Thanks very much. I've moved on.
Yeah.
No, you can't be doing that, not without the state's involvement. So
No,
yeah,
no. Yeah.
slow gradual abolishment of the right of inheritance. Number four, confiscate property owned by immigrants and rebels.
Hmm. Well,
I
they're
mean,
confiscating. We are now the citizens, and that's another subject, what a citizen actually is. But those of us who actually live here and were born here are now the rebels, and our property is supposed to go to the illegal immigrants. Okay.
right? Number five, Carrie, your favorite. Establish a national bank. All money
Oh,
and
yeah.
loans are owned by the federal government, which constitutes a monopoly.
I don't know why this isn't number one. Maybe they're trying to like hide it a little bit or something because this everything I know we're focusing on education and perception, but everything devolves from the financial system. That's the heart of it.
Mm-hmm.
You can
All
control
right.
that.
Unconstitutional as well to have a central bank.
Got that right?
So, number six, nationally controlled communications and transport.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and so what's a fascist state? It's when the business and the government have joined as one. And really, we've been living in a fascist state certainly all my life. Who owns the communications? And look at, okay, I'm not even going to start
Right,
on
exactly.
that. It's
I think everybody can come to their own conclusions on that.
yeah.
Number seven, government ownership of the means of production, i.e., factories, land, natural resources.
Yes. Right.
Okay.
That's mhm.
Number eight, industrial and agricultural armies. So everybody being liable to work.
Right. Yep.
Number nine, redistribute population.
Oh,
Eliminate sovereignty of state and town by redistributing people.
yeah. They're doing that all over the world, of course.
Right? Yeah, they 100% are. And then number 10, free and public education. So
There you
out of all
go.
of those 10 points, and if you were to like sit that next to the Constitution, I guarantee you can tick more points on the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto than you can on the current constitution.
That's right.
And this has been a slow, gradual plan that, again, number 10 being their biggest weapon, in my view, is the education. Because
Mm.
this is how you brainwash people into believing that all of those extra points are good. And
Yeah.
you see that starting from the agendas, from as young as the 3, 4, or 5-year-olds that get marched into those institutions, which are communist institutions.
Yes,
This
they
is like,
are.
I mean, you look the same. I mean, look at the UK. You have to wear uniforms from the age of 5. I mean,
Oh,
like, what are you doing? Like, you
yeah.
look the same, you do the same, you learn the same, you you're shoved into locked rooms nowadays. Like, there's locked buildings. None of these facilities, none of these schools are like open schools. You can't come and go. Obviously, you've got to be locked away,
Yeah.
and you're all taught the same thing, and you're taught to compete against each other rather than collaborate with each other.
Yeah.
Uh,
To reach
and
the
this
same
is like, that's
conclusion.
15 years of conditioning. And if you do get to university, that's where the Marxism really gets shoveled down your necks.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like they've really turned up they've got that turned up to 11 now, the Marxism
Yeah,
in
they do.
universities. They really do. It's insane. I mean, it's been a long time since I think the university was the really the field of inquiry. It's been a long time. It's all the methods that you just listed. That's how you build communism. It really is. I mean, I have a hard time saying which is more important, the financial system or education. I feel like they're kind of neck
Mhm.
and neck. But
Yep.
how did you? So okay, you're a guy who you and your wife decided. I know because I'm familiar with your book. I haven't read it cover to cover, but he's got a great book out by the way, folks. It's called Choose Life, and it's about I forget the longer title. The
Yeah, it's world schooling. It's, yeah, the tools, tricks, and hacks of world schoolers, digital nomads, and long-term family travelers.
Yeah,
Something like that.
right, right. So it's a wonderful book, and it's structured in such a way that you can read it. You don't have to read it from start to finish. Obviously, this is an unconventional guy when it comes to education as well as presentation, and how to live that life. Now, you were living that life. You made a bold choice, your family, to travel all around the world with 4 children, educating them yourselves. And um, what happened when the lockdowns and the pandemic came along? How did you choose France? Did you just wind up in France? And tell me how you made that transition and how you're dealing with that now.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we wind it back, I had spent an 18-year career in financial markets, Carrie, in the belly of
Oh,
the beast.
yeah.
I'd worked on foreign exchange brokerage desks
Okay.
my whole career, from the age of 19 to 36, when I finally called it quits and said, "No way can I do this anymore." And that wasn't because I'd found the great truth. I had ignored I had ignored my wife's pleas of, we've got to get the kids out of this education system, because I was just too busy at work, and trying to bring home the bacon, and put food on the table, and have the nice 2-week holiday every year, and
Right.
fulfill all of the fiat kind of propaganda roles that a husband thinks he has to fill, as long as he's working 50, 60 hours a week at bare minimum. uh, yeah, I mean, I came to the realization that I was living a deferred lifestyle when I came across the book, The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And that book just caught me at a certain point in my life where I was deeply questioning, what is this all about? Like, why am I sat here at this desk? And four of my 4 kids are at home. My wife's running them all over the place. She's not actually spending too much time with them. I'm spending zero time with them. I'm like a lodger in my own home. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would we
Yeah.
have built a family and had the kids in the first place if we're never together and always apart, and never actually, getting to know each other? So that book highlighted to me that I'm just living a deferred lifestyle, because I'd think, yeah, another 10 to 15 years, pretty good salary, might get some nice bonuses. Perhaps I could retire at the age of 50, 55. But bam, like the kids would be gone. Like, why would I do that? And I suddenly realized we have to change everything. And so we did. And fast forward, it took us like 4 or 5 months to come to that decision. Quit. We sold pretty much everything that we had, and then we left Singapore. We'd been living in Singapore for 15 years. And we started traveling with the kids because we knew that's what we wanted to do for like 6 to 9 months. Then I figured I'd probably have to try and get another job or something. But I had to start looking. So first of all, we were looking at education completely differently, because we had the kids out of school. So that was on us now. You know, you take on the responsibility. You take on, instead of just waving them off on the yellow bus and being able to blame all of the bad grades or whatever else on lazy kids or poor teachers, you were now in full control of their education process. And what was that going to look like? And we had a lot of discussions over that, a lot of research. And then we found people like John Taylor Gatto, Naomi Fisher, Sir Ken Robinson, Dr. Gabor Mate, and many more, that John Holt for another one, that gave us the confidence and gave us the realization that, like learning in that environment is not natural at all. And like we've said a couple of times, everything's inverted. Everything is inverted. And you're telling me that a homeschooling, a self-directed educational approach, or a world schooling approach is alternative learning. It's been labeled, right? Well, who labeled it that? You know, what, mainstream media, people like that, alternative learning. I'm like, well, okay, hang on. What is the actual? No, to me, this is natural learning.
Yes.
The alternative way to learn is to lock a kid from the age of 5 into a classroom with 30 strangers for 8 hours a day for the next 15 years. There's nothing natural about that. That is alternative to anything we've ever done in the past as a human species.
Yeah.
And like, so you're like, whoa, you have this kind of moment, like you get truth bombed. You're like, all right, fine. And you get a little bit more comfortable with your decision. And we carried on homeschooling, world schooling as we traveled. And that travel lasted in the end almost 3 years, because we managed to fall into the sharing economy or circular economy, or whatever you want to call it, of home swapping or home sharing or house sitting or pet sitting or working for accommodation, like woofing, for example. They call it like voluntary work on organic farms or something like that.
Right.
And there are these websites and niches of communities and people all around the world where you can just plug into. And that's the way we carried on going. In the end, we were house sitting in France, and we did a 2 or 3 month house sit here. And we came to the conclusion, wow, we'd been bouncing around the world for almost 3 years. It's probably time that we just took a rest, because we were definitely travel fatigued at that point.
Yeah.
At some points, you didn't know whether you're going to have a roof over your head in the next 3 or 4 days. You know, we're constantly looking for things and getting to and dragging 4 kids around. As much as it sounds like a great life, and it was, and I loved every second of it, we got to a point where, like, right, let's find something a little bit more permanent.
Yeah.
And we wanted the kids to learn another language. That was something we realized was important to us as parents. If we could give them one gift, it would be the gift to speak another language. So we realized, all right, slow down, immerse, and let's reassess in 2 or 3 years' time. So that's what we did. And we did have the kids back in a schooling system so they could get that immersion. And COVID had come around in 2020, and that was the perfect opportunity to pull them back out. And really quite thankful that COVID come around, or the lockdowns come around, to be honest, because it gave us the kick up the butt we needed to take them back out and take responsibility for ourselves and our kids again. They'd gained the language. They can all speak French. And that was, 2020. They've not been back to school since. We've got an 18-year-old at the moment. She carried on in the school system. She enjoyed it. She was more academic. And now she's off on a gap year doing her thing, running around with her friends in They just landed in Indonesia, I think. So
Mhm.
they're off having a good time. Um, yeah, that's how we came to do it. It's all about trial and error and having that bravery in the first place, I suppose. It felt brave back then, but as soon as we got going, it just felt so natural that all of the fears just ebbed away.
You know, one of the things I've noticed when you say the word naturally, you've used that word a couple of times, and I think that's a great word because when I meet children who are being homeschooled, they're so different
Mhm.
from kids who are in school. They're much more open. They're more, they look you in the eye. They're
Mhm.
interested in you and curious about you. And they're very, you could see their mind is open, their heart is open, and they're happy. They're happy and they relate to you as a person, you
Mhm.
know, as opposed to being all shut off and everything's categorized. You're an adult and they're a child, and so these things don't meet. And they're just so. There's this sad thing that you see with most children who are being schooled
Yep.
by the state. It's really just shut down, and so
Yep. And there's a few things working here, and I know exactly what you mean. I've in fact, one of the biggest realizations to us that happened early when we started the travel was when we would meet other world school families around the world. There were Facebook groups and stuff. Like I said, you just plug into this different niche of people, and you just put a shout out. Okay, we just landed in XYZ country. Anybody been here before? Where are the best places to go check out? What are the best museums? Where can we take the kids? And anybody else here at the same time? And invariably, yeah, you'd run into the same families every now and then who were on their trip doing the whole world travel thing. And I remember the first couple of families that we met, and when you met their slightly older kids, they're 13-year-olds or they're 14-year-olds. And like you say, walk up, shake you by the hand, look you in the
yes,
eyes,
yes,
and an hour later, you're still talking to them. And you're like,
yes,
huh? Like, what? Like, you're just
I
having a
know.
conversation with a 14-year-old. I'm like, all right, great. That's brilliant. I want that for my kids. And that really that eliminated a lot of barriers. And now I see the same thing happening to other people when they interact with my kids. We go to a lot of Bitcoin conferences, and I try and take the kids along as often as I can. And the youngest are 12, two twins that are 12, and
Mm.
Sophia, she's currently 16. Sophia's now been invited to Germany to go and speak on stage to talk about being, understanding money and Bitcoin and life at the age of 16 and
That's
get
awesome.
her stance on that. Lauren, at the age of 12, has already hosted a panel in Prague in front of, I don't know, 400 people where she was interviewing a panel for like 30, 45 minutes. I gave her a little hand. I was up there as moral support, but she did all that completely. And everybody that gets to meet them says the same thing that you just said. And it's so warming to me that they're like, I just been talking to Lauren over here. How old is she? 12.
Yeah.
We've been talking to her for like the last hour and a half. And we're talking about all kinds of stuff. Like, what happens here? So what is going on here? What the thing? So why, when you meet a homeschool kid, are they like happy and comfortable to be around an adult? It's because a state school kid, excuse me, or even a private school, their only exposure to adults is the one authority in the room. That's it. Or the one authority that's walking the corridor and making sure no one's running and playing hijinks and pushing people over, right?
Yeah.
Or the dean, the headmaster or headmistress, whoever. That's your exposure to adults. So you close down because they are not there to be spoken with. They are there to be listened to and
Obeyed.
followed,
Yeah. Hmm.
obeyed. There you go.
Hmm.
You've clicked the word right there. So that's their exposure to adults. So then when even you as a family member arrive at Christmas as an uncle to speak to your 13-year-old niece or nephew, you're getting 10 words maximum out of them before they slope off somewhere into a corner and onto their
Yeah.
phones or whatever else.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
Go
it's
play a
icky.
video game or something. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's your relationship. And it's even worse because now that's a relationship with some parents. So why are they generally happier or at least more energized? Homeschool kids, like you said, sleep and nutrition, because you're not waking a child up to go to school at the age of 5 or 6 at 6:30 or 7:30 a.m. Like the crazy shit that we're doing to kids. Like we're not doing that as homeschoolers. You let them sleep. They wake up naturally. You cannot put a price on what that does to the human soul and to the spirit and to the body and to the development of the brain, physically and mentally. It's huge. So why are we interrupting kids with their physical sleeping patterns? That's done deliberately. We know,
Yes.
right? This
Oh,
is
yes.
social engineering. Like,
Yes,
let's not call
absolutely.
that's a total psyop. And then nutrition. What are they eating throughout the day when you have no idea what's going on in their mouth? Like you have zero clue. Whereas
Yeah.
a homeschooled kid, my kids are making bacon and eggs for brunch. They won't have a breakfast. There's no cereals in our house.
Right.
Seed oils, forget it. All of
Right.
the other junk that their friends are eating and becoming like pre-diabetic on, again, is a full-on psyop
Yeah, you
and
don't know what's
controlled.
in that. You do not know. I mean, I know a little bit
Absolutely.
about that, and it's horrifying what's in the food
Yep.
that's starting to
So
come out.
the much calmer homeschooled kids are much calmer, and this is one anecdotal thing that I noticed about when my son goes to his football training. He comes home so agitated and upset with the way that the training session's gone, especially on a Friday night. He says Fridays are the worst ones. I'm like, well, what's going on? He's like, well, the kids turn up and like, they're all just I'm just messing around, I'm pushing each other over and like they're not listening to the coach. No one's there to actually do the drills. No one's trying to get faster, stronger, jump higher, quicker. No one's improving their penalties, their corner kicks, their crossing, their passing. They're just like messing about. I'm like, mate, they're letting off steam. Like
Yes.
this isn't a training session to them. This
Yeah.
is like, thank God I'm out with that fucking gulag
Yeah.
and I can go and run around on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Whereas he's there like, fully up for like, okay, let's get better at something. Let's work on something. Let's get like a drill together whereby let's train on a corner kick and a free kick and let's try and but no. And so that to him is so frustrating. But that's the level of difference that, it's been so evident to me over the last almost 2024, almost 10 years now. I've been
Yeah.
doing this.
It strikes me that well, of course they know that if you look at humans as if our we look at our time and energy as a resource, right? It's our greatest
Mm-hmm.
resource. And so we can think of ourselves in a way as being resources. And I mean that only in a very good way, not the way the cabal thinks of us as cattle, you know,
Yep.
and slaves. Then obviously children, I mean, okay, so a child comes into the world fresh from God or whatever you want to call that. That energy is genius. Every baby that
Beautiful.
comes in is just bringing this genius to the world. And that's why they want to interfere with that. They want to capture that energy when it's the most ingenious and the least programmed. And then they want to program it themselves. So when a child is not put into that programming, what a genius it is. I mean, it's
You touched on an even darker topic right there. I mean, look at modern birthing methods. I mean, goodness me, the way that they um, have gaslit the world into believing that this is the way to bring a baby into the world. I can't believe I didn't go down this rabbit hole before, and it's rather shocking. But um, yeah, like the whole cutting the umbilical cord thing is, unless it's in a true emergency, of course, but otherwise it's, detachment immediately at the point of birth.
yes.
And then it's not straight to mum, right? It's like, right, no, okay, let's get a needle in there, let's weigh them, let's hold them upside down, smack them, whatever it is they do before they even even get close to mum.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
because
really,
they're owned by the state. A number's already been we
yes.
was already been slapped on us at that point,
Mhm.
and it's not, that's why they call it a delivery. You're delivering that child to the state. I'm serious. The
Oh no.
language, when you start looking at the language, it's fascinating. It really is kind of, they built it all in. I mean, I don't even know how, when this was, I haven't looked deep into the history of that,
Mhm.
but
Look, you have foundations like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and I know
ugh,
this for a fact because we visited that place when we were in Seattle back in 2016, when I hadn't fully woken up and actually thought that there was some kind of philanthropy going on there. But anyway, it was like an open, you can go and learn and see what they're doing around the world. Obviously, it's pure propaganda, but they had a little area there about how they're trying to take modern birthing methods to Africa, or the developing nations, whatever word or terminology they used. And
yeah.
I look back on it now, and I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah.
like these people are just so sick.
Yeah,
Like
they're
they're
really psychotic. That's the thing, is that it's psychosis that's running the world. It truly is. And so that's what we're dealing with. I remember it might have been around the same time, probably earlier than 2016, but oh no, it must have been around that time, because I'm a voice actor and I was invited to, they were considering my voice to be the voice for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
no
And
way.
and I didn't know any really thing about it. I mean, I was in Seattle at the time. I knew who he was, of course, but I wasn't paying a lot of attention to that. I was rock and roll. It was a whole other thing. And it turned out they decided to do, I don't know, they went in another direction, which is the term that they always use, in
Mm,
that scenario. And I am so glad. I mean, the money
mm.
was probably really good. I don't recall, it was a long time ago, but oh God, I feel like I've dodged so many bullets in my life, and I've lived, a lot under the radar. And so I'm not well known or anything, but I'm so glad, because I've
Yeah.
protected myself, or been protected, whatever, from so many things like that, and had a chance to actually investigate it without being embroiled in it, and to see what it is, from kind of this, a lot of times feeling sort of, well, I'm sort of left out. And I'm like, actually, no, thank heaven. Thank heaven I've been left out, and I can watch from the sidelines, as it were, because I think a lot of us who were on the sidelines are now coming into focus.
Mm.
And and the world that is coming up is the world of these children, like the children that you're raising. This is where we're going. I mean, these psychopaths aren't going to win, because psychopathy, I mean, one of the hallmarks of it is self-destructiveness.
Mhm.
So they love death. They're deep into death, you know?
If you, if your whole organization, let's use an organization example, if you, yeah, your hiring techniques, if it's all based on blackmail, bribery, murder, and incest, don't be surprised when it all comes collapsing down. And this is, but the thing is well, back to homeschooling, and back to those people that are, perhaps thinking along these lines. I mean, they probably are if they're tuning into this podcast already
Yeah.
at varying degrees and varying, um, you know, on varying parts of their journey. If we do truly want to starve this beast, we have to stop feeding it our kids' heart and souls. We just have to draw a line in the sand and say no more.
Yeah.
Like, no, I do not consent. I
Yeah.
will not give my kids up to this altar of the state, into their education system, into their kindergarten, into their pre-kindergarten, into their, and
Oh,
least
I
of all
know,
into their university.
pre-kindergarten. There, it's earlier and earlier. And this is why, feminism was a psyop, right? That was CIA. I don't know who else that, was involved in that, and Gloria Steinem, that was a whole put up to get women out of the home, so they would have even more access to our children. right? That's what that was all about. They don't give a
Yep.
shit about women, and that's irrelevant. That's a whole other discussion and a really interesting one about roles, because the mother is so important. It's so important for the child to have that maternal, energy to. And what we're talking about here is that what you were talking about, the birthing process, where the baby is immediately separated from the mother and the
Hmm.
cord is cut. This is There's a new energy that's rising. You hear people talk about the new earth and the goddess, and there's a real confusion around this, because it's not a matter of worship or God making or any of that. It's a matter of this maternal energy that we've been cut off from, because if we are properly nurtured, like you're saying, with food even and sleep, then we grow into the geniuses that we actually are, which they don't want us
Hmm.
to be, because, then they wouldn't have control. But yeah, blackmail, murder, torture, etc. It's not going to, it doesn't, it's not life. Since it's not life giving, it's death giving. It has to die, right?
Hmm.
But we have to push it over. It's up to us. And as you're saying, not donating your child to the system. I mean, I know it's really hard. So I wonder what you think about this. There were two things that I was hoping to cover, and I know we're getting short on time, but how you dealt with I know the lockdowns did you a favor, but
Hmm.
questions about travel now when the world has gotten so insane. If someone wanted to travel with their children, is that still, I mean, with the fake testing for fake virus, all that stuff, and being
Yep.
stopped at airports, and uh,
Ah,
that just got quite. I had my Scottish guitarist was on his way over here to play with me at South by Southwest, and he couldn't get out of the Glasgow airport, because of a fake test. So how,
because he proved falsely positive on some
yeah,
pointless
on a
PCR
fake
test. Yeah.
fake test for a fake virus. So yeah, so how do you see that impacting the ability to world school now? I'm
Mhm.
branching off here a little, but I wanted to make
Yeah,
sure
no problem.
cover this.
Yeah, for now it seems to have calmed down. Even the US dropped their requirement for you to have been vaccinated against COVID-19. I think that was back in May of this year, because up until that point, nobody could travel there if you weren't vaccinated. So you're
Right.
literally locked out of the US. It was absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Uh, the way, I mean, there are ways around it. There's a black market you can always dip into or out of. Not many people want to do that. So the best way, I mean, going forward, I don't know what's going
Yeah.
to happen again. Just keeping up to date with the regulations, reaching out to those people that are on the ground in the country or have been in and out of the country, how they did it, whether you're willing to do the same, whether there's a way you can get in via by another mode of transport other than airplane, if that's an opportunity. But it's exhausting. It's
Yeah.
extra work for, like, it's just absolutely freaking annoying. And it did slow us down. I mean, we are based in France, but we do travel a lot to the conferences and wherever else, and we still home swap. We still get across. Just next month, we're going to be in the UK for 5 weeks, and we've got a home swap there. And actually, we found a Sudbury Valley style school in the UK, where it's just 3 days a week, where the kids can just plug into some self-directed education. So they're going to go there for 4 weeks, and we'll spend 5 weeks seeing friends and family. And so you can mix all of these things in together. So that's going to be travel, holiday, see friends, see family. Kids get to meet new friends, learn new skills, and yeah, we get to see a different part of the UK that we're not that familiar with. So we're still doing it, but we're driving there. We're doing that because we can drive. It's Europe.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and there's no restrictions at the moment.
At
And
the moment. And that's another thing I've wondered, because they can drop them anytime, and then
anytime.
trapped,
Hmm.
Another thing I was wondering about is how do you, or what you might have to say about this. There are a lot of parents out there who probably like to homeschool, but both are working. And how do
Yeah.
you manage that financially? I know we don't have time to spend 2 hours talking about Bitcoin, although we would love to. But
Yeah.
but how do you have any thoughts about that to offer people
Yeah.
who are dealing with that?
Yeah, I mean, well, the first thing that has to be done is like the realization that you truly want to do this, because a lot of people, and it's going to sound pretty harsh, a lot of people that, they might just be happy with their jobs, and they might be happy with their 2.4 kids, and they might be happy with this is just life. Thanks very much. This is what I was told how it was going to be, because you were brainwashed, especially for the American listeners, the American dream, Carrie, it's the 2.4, the white picket fence, the two working parents, the two cars, and the nice all inclusive holiday, 10 days a year, and the big Christmas, and then another year goes around.
Yeah.
Many people are happy with that. So if you are questioning how would I homeschool, first thing you've got to do as a parent is start the process yourself of deschooling yourself and unprogramming your beliefs about education and what education is and what learning is, because learning doesn't happen at school. Teaching happens. It's
Yes.
forced fed teaching.
Yeah.
There is no natural learning. So if
Yeah.
you want natural learning for your kids, and you know in your heart of hearts that's the only way that they're going to grow into the people that they are supposed to be, then they cannot be in that system anymore. But that means something else has to give. And that means you're going to have to move. You're going to have to downsize. You're going to have to give up your job. You're going to have to move further out of town, whatever it is, and make those cuts. And the only way that that's going to happen is if you are prepared to do that. But that sunk cost fallacy is so strong. And especially, as you touched on earlier, especially with women, because they've been psyoped into believing this, that, and it's still so prevalent today. You have every right in the world to earn as much as anybody else and get as high a position as anybody else. And yes, 100% you do. If that's what you want, and you really got to truly understand, is that really what you want? Or do you want to be a mother? Is there a maternal instinct in you that has been stolen from you because the sunk cost fallacy of the 4-year law degree, or the 4-year economic PhD, or the 4-year whatever, and this idea that now you've got that, you have to practice it, and you've got that far up in your corporate career, you can't let that go because you're just another year away from that extra little title on your business card.
Yeah.
And but then to the guys that are sitting there that have painted themselves into this corner, like I had, I'm like, how did I get here? Like, how have I just had an 18-year career in a sector I didn't even know anything about? I didn't want to be in an office at all, ever. When I was at school, I swore I would never sit in an office all day like my dad, because he worked in finance as well. What happened? Bam, worked in finance, sat in an office all day for
Mm-hmm.
18 years.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to do this. But I've got here, and how do I now escape it? And you have to face all of those same sunk cost fallacies, and then the societal pressure. You have to face that. It's like, well, what do you mean you're retiring? What do you mean you're giving up? You're resigning? What you've got another 10 to 15 years. You've got to be you've been an irresponsible parent. Like, whereas you're actually being the complete opposite. You're being a purely responsible parent, because now their education is purely on you, not, like I said before, not outsourced to this centralized body that doesn't care and is actually trying to confuse kids actively. And this is what John Taylor Gatto writes about. And not even confuse like the sex that you were talking about earlier, but to confuse, like, right, okay, we got math between 9 and 10:30, then we've got physics between 10:30 and 12, then you got a short break, eat your shitty seed oil lunch, and then back we've got French, and then geography, and then history. And that's a Monday. And you're 11. You're exhausted. Like that.
And
What are we doing?
right, you can't absorb all that. You can't
No.
possibly. No, that's a really good point. The confusion of all the different subjects, and so you learn to have a certain attention span and to juggle, and there's
Hmm.
things that you're being taught that are considered skills, in our world. And I just want to speak a moment to what you were saying about following up on the mother in the home, and how I think a lot of women have been convinced that you know they're not fulfilled unless they get to go and have a career. And I think that's true for some women. Of course it is. And not everybody has children. It's okay.
Hmm.
But there's also this, and this is coming in with all the gender confusion. The male psyche wants to protect and provide, and it's a different psyche from the female wants to protect and provide, but in a very, very different way. And
Hmm.
so, of course, there's a lot of ways to skin a catfish, but basically those roles, there's a reason that they work so well,
Yep.
and for a man to really be a family man, I mean, yes, you want to be the one providing and everything, but you also want to be able to be with your family. And I saw my father go through this. I
Hmm.
didn't see him very often.
Yeah.
No, I just didn't see
And
him.
let's look at a timeline of human history, right? How long have we been doing this thing? Since the 1950s,
I guess.
where we're trying to, mess around with these roles.
Yeah,
And it's a psyop, guys.
I
It's a
know.
psyop. It's so because all of the millennia before that, everything that you were just talking about, this nurture over nature, um, natural learning, natural love, natural attention, natural care, natural provision, natural everything. It was all perfectly natural until bam, let's switch this flick. Let's flick this switch, excuse me, and change that.
Yeah,
Um, and it's so powerful. Look
yeah.
look at look at how society runs today compared to our grandparents' society. I mean, look at birth rates. Birth rates are down.
Oh, I
Why is
know.
that?
Yeah, there's a lot behind that. I mean, sperm counts are down. That they're creating beta males. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's like that makes me want to weep. Really, that made me
Yeah.
move. That made me move to Texas. I mean, I was like, can we please have a man around here somewhere? You know, don't make me do it. That's not my job. Well, there's a whole lot more we could say about this, but I know you've got a lot going on, and I hope we get to talk about some of the other things that branch out from this subject because there's just a whole lot to dig into. But I want to direct people to your podcast. You have really fascinating, galvanizing guests on your podcast, which is called Once Bitten. I'm going to put that in the show notes, and also again your book Choose Life. Think there's some really good advice there. And I guess, is there anything you want to leave our guests with, considering that we could talk for like hours? Where can we,
Yeah,
where,
absolutely.
where should we wrap this?
I've I've recently started writing a few articles about various things on one on inflation, on the monetary system, and inflation as a policy, and one on usury. You can find that if you go to Consensus Network blog. You'll find me and other writers on there, short form writing, but they do have books as well. So you'll be able to discover many, many books about money, the about Bitcoin, and something that you and I believe strongly in, that is our way out of this. And for those people that haven't dug into it, it is just another arrow in your quiver. If you're already down the freedom kind of thought process, separate education from state, separate money from state, certainly separate your nutrition and your health from state because they don't care about you, don't use their allopathic drugs. That's absolutely, one of these really key things as well. That's just got so. I mean, the opioid crisis in the States is just absolutely beyond control. And again, all for gain and the same people. So get over to that and learn about. Yeah, the most recent article I wrote about was usury, which is frowned upon by all religions across the world. It was written about by Aristotle, and we live under it. We've
Yes.
all been tricked into it.
Yeah.
And this idea that they create money out of nowhere to deposit into our bank accounts as a loan. So the loans are the deposits, not the other way around, because everything's inverted. Remember, it's
Yes.
not like you deposit money and that money gets used as a loan for something else. And no, loans are the deposits in your account, which inflates the base monetary supply. But not only that, they charge you interest on the counterfeit money that they put into your bank account. So that is usury. It's illegal. It's unethical. We live under it. And number 5, as I said, a centralized central bank with monopolistic power over the people's money. It's strange and dark times. And thank you for having me on. And I hope people are interested to go check that out.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to put all your info in the show notes. Have a beautiful day in France, en France.
Thank you very much for having me.
That was Daniel Prince, ladies and gents. Someone we could talk to a whole lot more on a lot of different subjects, and I will get him back at some point. But meanwhile, I hope you enjoyed this. Please do like and subscribe and share and leave your comments, and come on back soon to hear more about how to live free in a system designed to imprison you on Starseeds of Freedom.